What is going on, everybody? Welcome back. Season 4 of the Mindshare podcast. I'm your host, David Greenspan. And, hey, I'm excited to have you back here today. This week's episode is sponsored by Kit's Keep in Touch Systems, as well as our friends over at the Buzz Conference. Now, be sure to follow the Buzz on Instagram at the Buzz Conference. Give them a visit at www.thebuzzconference.com. Keep up with everything that they're up to, including an upcoming event called Disruption. This is happening on March 30th, 2023. So be sure to go over to www.thebuzzconference.com and get your tickets. We are very proud to have the Buzz Conference as an ongoing sponsor of the Mindshare podcast. Of course, Kits is also with us. And right now is a very ideal time for you to sign up for Kits. If you're not already a member, you got to hurry up. If you are a member, though, you might be very well aware of this. We've got the WOW calendars. I'm going to just say it like I normally do. They are guaranteed to get you more calls than you get on your birthday. Period. Hard stop. For those of you that send them out before, you know exactly what I'm talking about. For those that haven't, you're probably wondering, like, dude, it's just a calendar. No, it's not. So I wanted to let you know that early bird ordering has started. I also want to remind you that membership has its benefits. And definitely want to do a shout out to my entire team at Kits. We have just won a second international award for our personal promotion marketing that is all strictly focused on, well, hey, helping you build that mind share so that you can get more market share. So again, that is the second international award. We are super, super pumped about that. And just another sort of, feather in the cap for the team to remind everybody, internally for us, as well as, of course, everybody else, our audience, why Kits is just that absolute amazing option for you as your marketing suite, as your marketing engine to help you grow your business. So be sure to check out Kits. Go over to my site, mindshow101.com, click on marketing up at the top. As you know, we're also on a push to get to 100 reviews on iTunes, and so I'd like to ask you, if you haven't yet, if you're a regular listener, like, why not? But no, seriously, if you haven't yet, regular listener, first-time listener, I do want to encourage you to please go to ratethispodcast.com/mindshare101. Give us a nice little review, big 5 stars. Would be very, very grateful if you took a moment to do that. It means a lot to us. And again, for everybody that does that on a regular basis, it means a lot. We get the notifications when it happens, and it is just super, super cool to sit back and kind of go, wow, I didn't know this person listened, or, wow, there's a lot of people tuning in that we didn't even know about. So very cool. Again, thank you very much for that. Also want to take a quick moment to mention that right now is a very, very critical time in your business and in your personal life. We are into the home stretch of finishing off the 2022 year. We are in Q4, and we got an opportunity right now to finish this quarter off on a very high note, finish this year on a high note, and set ourselves up to start on a very high note, an even higher note in 2023. So right now is the time to start planning. It's the time to start thinking. We are already on to that with all of our one-to-one coaching clients, really focused on helping them build up their systems and get them ready for the new year. And I know some people might think, like, wow, it's only middle of October. Yeah. That's the thing. Most people wait until like the end of December, maybe the beginning of January, and many more just don't do anything. Well, Mindshare Masters community, we ain't most people. So we like to get ahead of the game. We like to lead the way. We like to make sure that everybody's prepped and ready. And I like to make sure that as much as we work hard, that everybody's going to be able to party hard when it comes to the holidays in December. So we want to have you prepped and ready to do that right now, get you ready for 2023. So I do want to throw that out there for you. Inquire about our one-to-one coaching system. It is very, very custom fitted. It is not a 30-minute phone call where we're doing a black and white 20-question checklist, tell you how great you are and send you on your way. It is completely custom fitted. It's really built for you, and it's again in place to help you get to your next level. So whether you're new to the business, you've been around a few years, Mindshare 101 121 coaching is really ready for you. I do want to encourage you, get in touch with one of our Mindshare experience coordinators. They will set up a consultation call. We can have a connection point on that and see if we're a fit for each other. So check that out. Now, moving on. Today's episode is number 203. He is the broker of record and owner of a multi-office real estate company in Ontario. London, Ontario, to be specific. He's also a coach and author and has spoken all over North America and internationally on the principles of high productivity and personal development. Joining me on this episode of the Mindshare podcast is broker of record, owner, coach, speaker, author, and a good buddy of mine, Mr. Ryan Hodge. Ryan, welcome back to the Mindshare podcast, brother.
Oh, it is good to be here, my man. And congratulations, 203 episodes, man. It's been
Yeah.
a minute since the last time I was here. So fantastic for you. And I will vouch right away those calendars. We will be ordering, I don't know if we order about 500 or 1,000 of them, but they do get calls. And we were a little bit resistant to make a switch from our marketing company at the start, but I'm glad that we did. I know many of our members at our organization also use kits and great success. So super stuff and honored to be here. And I'm happy to contribute in any way I can.
Well, I would say I'm grateful. I appreciate you. And here, let me just piggyback on that and say, we are fortunate to have a lot of people using the kit system. But when a friend comes to you and says, "Hey, man, I'm interested in using the program," you start to get like your back against the wall. You're like, "Oh man, I got to really deliver for this guy right now."
Mm.
Not that we don't want to deliver for everybody, but it's, when friendship's on the line, you want to make sure things go well. So seriously, Ryan, thank you for sharing that, man. It means a lot.
Good stuff, man. Good stuff.
So tell me, dude, what's the biggest challenge we're seeing out there right now? Like, I know there's a lot of stuff happening, a lot of people going through different things. Mindset's still a thing, whether people on the right side or the wrong side of that. The market is obviously doing what it's doing. The mainstream media is not painting the best picture.
Mm-hmm.
What are you hearing about from agents right now? Where are the struggles? Where are the challenges?
Well, I think it's the age old thing. You've got agents that are going to, number one, talk about the market, number two, talk about interest rates, number three, talk about what's going inside of their company or the world or whatever. And really, it just comes down to a lack of commitment. I'll be transparent about that.
Love
It
that.
is 100% an opportunity right now. We have members that are absolutely crushing it in this market and beyond. We have members that are struggling just like they do at any other office as well. So, my perspective has always been, what's the number one thing that gets in the way of agents, achieving what it is that they desire. I know you talk a lot about time in your coaching and training
Mhm.
and whatnot as well. Time is always the answer. And I have asked thousands and thousands of agents, pulled probably over 5,000 agents, what is that thing that gets in the way? They always say time, but it is always the choices that we make inside of our time that gets in the way of that happiness, freedom, and the results that we desire inside and outside real estate.
I would double down on that, and obviously, again, you see that there's a very big underlying message around time, but I think that we all struggle with it on a regular basis.
Hmm.
Um, And as much as, again, there's that whole idea of managed time. And I'm sure you've seen this, but like I had this big revelation a while back. Like we don't manage time,
No,
right? We can have time manage us if we use it properly. And if we stick to it, we can make a lot of things happen in a day. And I think a lot of people throw up a lot of roadblocks, a lot of excuses around why they cannot. And,
for sure.
one thing I tell my kids, and I know I've told you this before, but I tell my kids every night of their life since the day they were born, and it's consistent. Kiss them goodnight and tell them you can do it.
Hmm.
And it's an underlying message of, positivity. It's an underlying message of, anytime they use the word can't, they look at me and I kind of look back at them and they're like, well, I can. And you're like, okay, cool. Let's figure out the solution then. Right.
Hmm.
And I think from a time perspective as well, as people are having challenges around that, like, yeah, life is busy, but again, I throw it out there and beg the question of like, how much time do you spend looking at this thing?
Sure,
And if people aren't tracking that, that goes twofold. One, productivity is going to be down, right? And two, mindsets are going to be down.
sure,
So it's
sure.
incredible how time, the phones, and like what we do with these habits we've got really go hand in hand to, say whether or not we're going to get to that success level we want to get to, whether or not we're going to have that, that mindset, that positive mindset. Because listen, shit happens every day. And we talked about that before we got on air. There's always
Hmm.
shit going on out there. How do we deal with it,
Absolutely.
right?
Yep. And I think that, real estate isn't lending very well. It hasn't through COVID. It hasn't through, what's gone on with this changing market. I think that what we observe, what we choose to observe, whether it is, you know, positive folks like yourself that are trying to bring a message of growth and change, or, toxic real estate groups can make a big difference, right? And how much time we spend in those spaces, how much time we attach to those spaces. It is creating those boundaries inside of our time to do the next right thing right. And we talked a lot about that too with, karma and dharma and purpose and all
Mhm.
that other good stuff.
Yep. Well, here, let me ask you something about the groups and the social side of things, because I think that there's an aspect of that, and I think we all struggle with that to some degree, right? There's an event going on, there's a networking reception, there's people talking about this, there's this new group over here, there's these new platforms that people are part of, and I think that there's a feeling that people need to be everywhere all of the time,
Hmm.
and that if we're not there, we're missing out, right? Maybe we're missing out on a network opportunity, we're missing out on like why do they know this and I don't know this? I guess maybe isolating some of that to the social media groups, and again, the amount of time that we spend in these toxic areas. What say you to your agents when they come to you and maybe say, "I'm not feeling it," or "I'm running out of time," or "Hey, do you think I should be part of this thing?" Like, what is your thought maybe on the groups themselves and how much time people spend trying to just keep up with others?
Well, it's interesting. I mean, I've been a part of them. I've created some big ones in the past. I've been part of creating some big ones, some of the largest that still exist to this date. And so I'll have members, whether it's my own coaching clients or the members of my organization that come to me and say, I saw this point in group called X. And in many cases, I left group called X years ago
Yeah.
because it is 100% a vibrication of our time, but more importantly, our energy. And if we're continually funneling our energy to those spaces, we're just going to attract more of that to our own experience. That's my belief, it's my thought, it's my practice. And so I look at what is a proactive means of, networking
Mhm.
versus reactive. Gossip and toxic conversation, no thanks. Get me out, get off my page, get off my wall, get out of my life. Don't need you. And I'm pretty crystal clear on that.
Yeah, no, I love that, man. I'm totally with you on that too. Like that again, like we just talked about with the dharma and the purpose and everything else. It's what are you trying to attract to you, right? So as we talk about that and we talk about toxicity and the negative messages, let's go to the big mainstream media for a minute, because you
Mm,
guys, I know the realty firm is headquartered in London,
hmm.
right? Um, you guys have a few different. I mean, the expansion is happening. What are you finding right now? I mean, first and foremost, market wise, and then kind of like doubling down on that. Are we finding that the mainstream media, what I call like the most toxic media you can possibly ingest into your mind, are we finding that they're bang on about all their doom and gloom and negativity about the marketplace? Um, and maybe again throwing a third part to that is like, how do we change that narrative?
Sure. I think it's lead by example. I mean, in any marketplace, you're going to have that doom and gloom chat, right? There's no
Right.
doubt about it. In anything that you see, the mainstream media has a story to tell, and they tell that they want to tell it, even if it's not the truth. And that is usually, driven by a motive behind it that we could get into politics and everything else, which I don't think we'll do today. But here's the thing in any market, and I've been in multiple markets now, and I've had coaches that have been in multiple markets before me, and colleagues and friends, and these are usually people that earn seven figures plus, which is a pretty good number.
Mhm.
Um, any market, whether it's up, down, or transitioning, the most agents that I know that are highly productive human beings have created more market share in a down market or a transitioning market than that ultra hot market that has existed for most of us here in Ontario for the last few years. And what's going to happen though is that there's a flip side of that coin. Everything in life has its duality, right? So a
Mhm.
lot of people have created some great market share. They've been really good at, especially if they're brand new to the business, they've been good at becoming order takers for their listings in the last few years, rather than consultants, rather than salespeople,
Rather than hunting.
rather than doing what they need to do and really focusing in on what skill sets are traditionally required to get a listing sold, what skill sets are required to, like you said, hunt for business, what systems, processes, techniques, strategies that are proactive need to happen. And if they're not changing right now or they haven't started to change, watch their business tank and watch how many agents exit this industry. Just watch.
Why are they exiting right now? Like, why are people failing right this moment? Is it just does it come back to that we haven't started to run it like a business? We haven't taken it seriously. What do you think it is there?
Well, here's the thing. I mean, I say it. I try and say it as lightly and politely as possible about being an order taker,
Yeah.
right?
I like to say
But
it very bluntly. I just
yeah, Yeah, I said it with my members the other day, and they kind of looked at me sideways, some of them. But here's the thing, it was a breeze to list and sell a house. Hey, lots of work that comes along with it. Maybe you got 20, 30 offers or, navigational points on time. But from getting, the listing listed to getting it sold, not a huge, huge challenge over the last few years. And so commission rates are higher.
Mhm.
The commission amounts are higher, pricing's higher. You get it done, you're the hero. You might get referred. But if you've never learned how to go out and acquire listings the good old fashioned way, or putting in some proven and empirically data based solutions to creating business, then you're not always going to be the hero right now. There's going to be less to get if you're not actively, producing that for yourself. And so many members, even if you see a 20 or 30% market, nosedive, that means their average commission is going to go down 20 or 30%.
Right.
And if they haven't learned how to acquire business, it could be another 20 to 30%, which all of a sudden means half of their income is out the window if they haven't done anything differently. And most, like in any business, in any challenging time, sit back complacently and they wait and wait and wait until it's too late.
So they're not building up their business the way they should be.
Hmm.
What if we could give some action steps to people right now? What kind of things should they be doing? And let's frame that again and say we got agents that have been around for some time now. They've been through up and down markets. If they're still here, chances are just I would say like 1 + 1 = 2. They're survivors. They understand what it means. They understand how to run the business.
Hmm.
We've got folks that might have been in, just prior to the whole, 2020 debacle. And, maybe they got in 2017, 18, 19, had a few like normal years, then maybe some like wicked years. And now maybe for the first time, and, we're again in it 5, 6 years, but now for the first time, they're starting to see this downturn. Are they set? But then you've also got the agents that got in the past 24, 36 months who like have zero clue what a market like this even entails.
Sure.
What should these people be doing right now? What are those keys, to
Proactive,
increase that productivity?
yeah, proactive activity versus reactive. And so I'll say it bluntly. There are some amazing people that utilize things like TikTok and Instagram and great stuff, and it's fun or it's funny or it's cool or it's sexy or whatever. That some of them have had some success. Maybe they've become a bit of an influencer in it, but a lot of them haven't done a lot of real estate business.
Right.
But it's a big shiny object that looks good and feels good instead of doing the stuff that most of us had to do to obtain the success that we've had years later. Getting into the grind of open houses, getting into, learning about lead generation, whatever that might be for you,
Mhm.
getting into, traditional forms of prospecting, getting into utilizing proactive means to use social versus reactive, getting into building your list, aka building your mind share. For example,
Ooh, I like
you
that.
know, do people have a list of 100 people built that would readily buy, sell, or refer them a real estate deal? Because people move every 5 to 7 years. Okay. So conservatively, there's 14.3 deals in that if people in that list are moving every 7 years. For a lot of people, that hits their income goal if they're just focusing on and nurturing that list. But that requires a little bit of pain. It requires a little bit of getting out of the comfort zone. It requires not playing secret agent. It requires getting proactive and trying to be the next TikTok star.
Right.
And all of that other stuff is great. It's complementary though.
And that's the thing, and I think that people need to recognize that is that again, I'll use it in complimentary, I'll say support, it's the support mechanisms.
Sure, sure.
Um, I couldn't agree more with the proactive versus reactive. And again, the way I look at that is it's like I'm going to wait, and I'm going to look at the phone and go, oh, guys, I know we're on a live show, but I just got a Facebook notification. You're okay if I answer that, right? My email just went off. You're okay if I respond to that? Like I know I'm doing a listing presentation. Just give me a minute. Like
Hmm.
that's reactive, and I don't think that that shows respect for self. I don't think that shows respect for time. I don't think that shows respect for the people that you're with.
Hmm.
It is about being proactive. Hence, again, that conversation around like time, right?
Totally.
Much the same. You say order taker, and I right away to me that's like you're waiting to react, right?
Hmm.
You're waiting for that to happen. You're waiting to take the person's pizza order.
Totally.
Whereas I'm saying, hey, and I teach this to everybody I can, and I try to live this, but be a hunter.
Hmm.
Go out and hunt every single day. And just before you eat your next meal, go set more traps. And like as we break that one down, anybody kind of going like, "What?" Well, yeah, like
Yeah.
that means like work your contact list, like make your phone calls, like reach out and do the connection points, like build the rapport with people, right? Now you bring up this thing of like doing some of the lead gen. Um, as we look at that, because there are a million different ways out there that could be done. What do you suggest as maybe what you've seen, maybe experienced, maybe spoken to your agents about? Is there anything that stands out as like the most effective way to do this?
And the one that you do, really,
Yeah.
right?
Okay. Fair enough. I like
Right.
that.
No, I'll try and break this down in a way that may support those. Over the years, I've identified four key pillars of real estate productivity.
Yep.
Okay. The first is foundation, knowing who you are. Are you sound personally? Do you have a goal, but do you have a commitment to reach that goal? Because there's a big difference, right? Goals are nice in theory.
Yep.
Do you have a plan? The second is predictable business cultivation, aka lead generation. So I always break down five predictable forms. And the way that I mean predictable is that you can track and measure it, because if you can't track and measure something, you can't improve it. So I know that if I send out 500 kits marketing pieces or calendars, I can track and measure the results. I can track and measure, the people that comment on it. I can track and measure the thank yous that go all along with my referral business and building mind share, building market share, all of it for myself.
Mhm, mhm.
I can do the same with online lead generation, which I apply a lot of. I can do the same with cold calling and door knocking if I did that, which I don't, open
Yep.
houses, which I don't, but many people do, along with some proactive ways to message through some of the social channels, actually really engaging, using Messenger, using, the way that people communicate to try and attract more business. Five, right there. What I can't do is, understand where an agent is building all of their business by focusing their time on reactive, where you can't see any kind of measurement or data on it. And so making it predictable is crucial. The third, back end systems and processes, your CRM, your presentations, your, integration with certain tech, things like that. And then four is assess, scaling, and leverage. Okay. So leveraging maybe other human beings and technology, building a team, things like that. Most people want to jump to three or four
Right.
without focusing, number one, on one, right? My
Yep.
personal foundation. Do I have a sound business foundation? Do I know the right things to say to be the consumer's obvious choice and, a portal of consumer information? Two, do I have my systems in place as far as what I'm going to do, and maybe building out a couple of them, especially for 2023 right now, where I'm going to bulletproof my business and set goals accordingly and understand the way that I need to commit to those goals in order to achieve them. And if people would just focus on number one, their number two is going to get easier, and then they can gradually get into three or four. But what happens is that I talk about real estate karma and dharma. It's the same thing that applies in life, but they're universal laws. Karma is a very circular energy, right? So it's the old golden rule: what goes around comes around. And in real estate, the way that it looks is this: January 1, or whenever a new agent starts, we start at zero, right? We start at zero, and we go out, we listen to the Mindshare podcast, we go to a training, we hire somebody, we, network at some of these amazing events, and we get a great idea, and we do it. We do the work, and naturally, then we get a result. And as we get that result, we start to get more, and it's exciting, and it's wonderful, and it's great. But then instead of continuing to do the things that got us busy and active in the first place, we stopped doing it because we got too caught up in the transaction, working in the business versus on it. Or we ended up taking our foot off the gas, which many agents do in the fourth quarter of any year because it had
Mhm.
such success. And all of a sudden, we're back to the beginning where we need to pay off credit cards for what we just spent on, the holidays, or we've overextended ourselves, or we just need to, make some money and make it quick. Real estate dharma is different because karma, where it's circular, and if we just keep going round and around in a circle, we're going to get the same result. Dharma is what's called the law of purpose, and it's a very linear path, which means that we need to do the next right thing after the next right thing and keep trying to do those things right, progressing down a path rather than going in that big chaotic circle that most of us, have done at one point in our lives in real estate. And hey, here's the thing. If we can stay on that linear path, just like any realtor, you're going to have some peaks and valleys.
Hmm.
But the average have massive peaks and valleys. Mine are a little bit more like this.
Right.
And so, how do we minimize those peaks and valleys? By just doing a couple other things right and trying to do the next thing right. The perfect, no, but is it progress? Sure.
Right. Now, is there something specific on that line when you say some of those specific things? Is there something specific there, or no? It's more about find your purpose. Like we said, set the goal, set the plan, quantify it all, track it, so that you can measure it, you can adjust it, and that's kind of that continuum right there.
Well, I think that, finding our purpose, real estate's definitely not it, right? Nobody's going to wake up on death's doorstep and say, gosh, my life would have been more complete if I just would have sold one more house. But real estate can be, in my opinion, one of the greatest vehicles ever to serve that purpose, whether it's family, friends, charity, contribution, influencing other people or inspiring, motivating, whatever it is for you. Anybody and everything has a purpose. So what I go back to are those four pillars. There's a personal foundation and professional foundation. And that is part of that linear path that if I can get myself right, get my mindset right, get my heart right, it's going to allow me to really focus in on why I'm doing this business and setting the appropriate goals to do so, which then I can then align predictable business activities to those goals and keep moving forward down a linear path. Because if we don't have that foundation, we tend to build a business and, gosh, in my experience, a life on a house of cards or kind of like quicksand. And so we've got to have an awareness to that, I believe, in order to, keep moving forward.
Okay, so let's do this for a second then, because we are getting into that time of the year. Um, It is something, as I mentioned off the top, that we're starting to work with our one-to-one coaching clients on, of really getting them set, because it takes time. It takes time to review, analyze, put together. And again, a big goal of ours is that by the time December comes around, people aren't worrying about what does the plan look like for next year. We're already into execution mode, right? Because again,
Hmm.
most people start Jan 1, most people start Jan 15, most people fall off by March 16. We're starting like December. By the time everybody, like most people, get started Jan 1, we're already so far ahead in the race that it's like it's just hard to compete. And
Hmm.
that's my mentality of it. Just come from the sports guy, competitive, whatever. We just want to win, right? So it's competitive
Sure.
edge. Um, we go through a process of helping people do that. I'm curious for you, and you and I have had like a lot of combos about this over the years, and you've certainly been helpful for me in my own personal growth. What would be some of those suggestions you've got to people when you talk about purpose? And we say personal, we say business. The goal here is again increasing productivity, stronger mindset. What could people do today as they wrap up listening to this episode and go, I'm inspired, I'm enlightened, and I'm going to try that. I'm going to try to get off of that big ups and downs and create more of that linear, again, as we dharma with your purpose, create that for myself. Understand that they'll be there, but they're not as significant in terms of the ups and downs. What can people do now? To take a pen and paper, just start writing things. Like, what would you suggest they do as a starting point for people that again have said, okay, fine, I'm in. What next?
Hmm. I think it's identifying, how to serve the highest version of themselves to start self-serving activity. One that I have a major recommitment to make, especially after seeing that picture you posted of me. I was a little leaner in that, so it's time.
Dude,
It's that
I've never
old
seen you
real
not
estate
lean
photo.
though.
No, no, no. I'm there. COVID, and stress have not been, my ideal counterparts through the last couple of years. But what I'll say is I've got an awareness to that,
Right.
and so I believe in my deepest truth that if we can't serve ourselves, and it doesn't mean going to the gym necessarily or, eating like a bodybuilder or, nutritionist or whatever. I think that for many, they dial in on that and it works quite well.
Mhm.
But what are the things that, you can identify right away that allow you to become the highest version of yourself in order to step into your very next experience, whether that's, journaling, whether it's meditating, whether it's, going for a walk consistently, or reading a non-business related book, or, some positive listening. We talked about gratitude before we jumped on. Those are the things in my perspective, and over the years of, coaching many highly productive people, being coached by many, talking to people like yourselves, that are all consistent factor. And so where many try and do it all, they get overwhelmed and all this information overload, and they try to really dive in on everything. It's about creating some healthy rituals, and trying to get consistent with that. Commit to getting consistent with that, and watch what happens. I know that when I've been more consistent, my productivity is higher than it is right now. I know I've been far less, and it's been lower. And so looking at some of those self-serving activities enhances the whole picture, because I don't believe that you can serve others, your friends, your family, your loved ones, your clients, your colleagues, your team members, your agents, if you're an owner of a business, or a brokerage, until you serve yourself. It's that whole thing, even drinking water, right? Most people, they get up, they pick up their phone, but how many will actually pick up a bottle of water because they know hydration is important?
It's funny because I know a lot of folks that are tuned into this show on a regular basis probably look and go, man, these guys talk about a lot of the same stuff. I mean, I stress to people like grab that glass of water in the morning, right?
Hmm.
I mean, look, I go to my baseball team, my hockey team, and I talk to them about hydration, right? Because if they're not hydrating when they're at the highest level of energy in the day right now, where we're going for like top performance on that diamond or on that rink, if they're not hydrating, the mind is not going to function the way it needs to function, right? Therefore,
Hmm.
and then that's going to translate down to the physical part of the body that's not functioning the way it's supposed to function. And
Hmm.
again, for everybody tuned in, understand that this comes right back to mindset. This comes back to systems and processes, right? And to what Ryan was mentioning there about, again, finding, how do you create that sort of linear kind of rhythm that you find and what works for you, and then the repetition and consistency. And yeah, as we did talk about this prior to getting on air, um, you know, hydrating first thing in the morning, reviewing goals first thing in the morning, right? This takes all of about 5 minutes, right? Like it's not hard. But
Hmm.
it's that thing of going, I am not grabbing for this phone first thing. It's not happening. And even if you're like your arm twitches for it, it's like, nope, grab the glass of water that's right beside it. Hydrate. You just been
Hmm.
sleeping for, some cases 4 hours, but many cases probably 6, 7 or 8 hours, right? Maybe more. And your body wants water. Well, if you want to have proper cognitive function, you need to hydrate, right? Then it's a matter of purpose, as we brought up, right? And this is where, for me, again, part of the routine there is look at the goals.
Hmm.
What am I doing today? Like, not even what am I doing today, but why am I doing today? Right? Well, again, I've got goals, and being a athlete, being a competitive guy, I like to win, like I said. I want to track those goals, and I want to see that I'm able to put points on the board every day. Because if I do that, no matter what happened in the day, from different emotions, from not getting the deal, from, God knows whatever, at the end of the day, practicing gratitude, which is again another one of those like, staple items in like at least my routine now.
Hmm.
Practicing gratitude helps us recognize, hey, yeah, you might have been pissed off at 1 o'clock this afternoon over that thing. But the reality is that there's a 24-hour window of time here. And like let's look at like what you've actually got going on in life. And if you can recognize that, hey, you got loved ones, you got your health, you got family, like you got a roof over your head, maybe you have a business running, maybe you got other things good that are going on in the pipe. Really, we're gonna let that one little thing at 1 o'clock really throw us off that badly?
Hmm.
And I think again
Hmm.
from a mindset perspective, and as we talk about like what is that process for me, at least, guys, like Rye and everybody tuned in, that's been the biggest mental shift for me. Right,
Hmm.
feeding my brain on a daily with a book, looking at my goals, hydration in the morning, and gratitude at night. Now in between it all, it's the scheduling, as we've already talked about as well, right? That
Sure.
time. What are we going to be doing and how are we going to be doing it, right? Where are we spending it? You
Well,
know,
and I think that, when we explore that, I look at the hydration in another piece, which is, personal responsibility. And so the question that I can ask is, if I am not willing to drink a glass of water, which I know does all the great things that you just told me that it does. So if I'm not willing to hydrate myself, how am I possibly going to hydrate my business?
right.
How am I going to hydrate other things? Right. And by all means, I mean, there are people that are really healthy and do it a lot better than I do, and that will always be the case. But it's certainly an exploration in that personal responsibility space, and I think that when we look at that, and right now, can I take personal responsibility for where I'm at in my business today? Can I take a look at, the missing gaps or things that I need, holding my hand up transparently, right? Which is one of the biggest catalysts to change is when we can be transparent that we need support in any area and say, I need to get some support in my business, which might make me uncomfortable and it might make me, you know, have and feel some pain. But, like I say to the 50 kids that I coach every day in football, pain is temporary, pride is permanent. Pain is
Mhm.
temporary, pride is permanent.
I like that.
And you can, easily transfer, that to business as well. It is the greatest business in the law of pure potential as far as being able to create the life that you desire, to do the things that you want to do with the people that you want to do them with. I mean, you can observe the toxic groups and what goes on there, but you can also observe, people that are looking for a trophy for being so busy. You can do it all in this business if you increase your capacity and really dive into that personal responsibility piece. So those are some key areas right now for sure.
Okay, so looking at that then and talking about transparency, talking about figuring out what it is that, your purpose is. We know that there's a lot of people. I'd like to say everybody. We know it's not everybody. I do though, however, believe that like everybody internally, maybe innately, has these like big desires.
Mm,
Um, Depending on your personality type, depends on whether those come out or they don't come out, whether you act on them or you don't act on them, whether you believe you can achieve them or you can't. And I look at this underlying theme of fear. And we know that fear is probably the biggest stopping point for anybody and everybody on anything and everything they do.
mhm.
Why is it that fear is such an underlying driver for so many people as it relates to growing themselves both personally and even professionally?
It's great that you asked that. I jumped in. I do a 2023 business planning workshop, and I do it every year for one of the top 5 or 10 teams in TREB, so the largest real estate board in the world.
Yep.
So I did this, session yesterday, and like I say, number one thing that gets in the way, people always say time. So we understand that it's more about the choices we make inside of our time. Number two is always fear or limiting beliefs, and that's a deep rabbit hole that we can go down because there's one, the fear of failure,
Mhm.
right? But number two, there's also the fear of success, which a lot of people have, whether it's unconscious or consciously, right there in front of them. And so, why is fear such a challenge? One, I'll take it on a surface level as far as people just don't understand the energy that's associated with it. So, the highly, highly productive real estate agents that are cold callers, door knockers, prospectors, online lead callers, whatever, every single one of them that I've ever interviewed or talked to still has an element of fear before they make that call. But what they understand is the energy associated with it and how to navigate past it even sooner. I mean, I have done hundreds and hundreds of podcasts. I've been on with you, a couple times before,
Mhm.
in the office, out of the
Yep.
office, whatever. Even before coming on here, you still feel that, like, is it going to go right? How's my computer?
Yeah.
What's going on? Like, gosh, I haven't done one of these in a little while, all that shit, right?
Yep.
But I understand how to navigate through it a little bit easier than most that might have a challenge with, public speaking or doing stuff like this.
Hold on.
On
I'm gonna stop you right there for 1 second. And forgive me, I'm gonna take us to left field for 1 minute. Why do you understand that? To me, I'm looking for like one specific, it's almost a specific word to 2 words. And I might
why
just
do,
answer it and throw it out there to
throw,
let you
throw, throw
continue
it
to talk.
out there and
Repetition and consistency,
sure.
right? Like doing it running into that thought process, maybe running into that problem, learning, maybe having an issue and figuring out how to navigate that and doing it over and over and over again. It gets to that point where it's like, hey, I know this feeling, but like you said, I've been there. I know what to do with it. Forgive me. I
Hmm.
want to throw that out there because it's that hitting home point of like repetition and consistency for anything we do. I mean, dude, I was scared. And I don't remember it, but I know I was when my dad took off my training wheels off my bicycle for the first time.
Hmm.
I, I not only ride a nice bike,
Absolutely.
I got a big ass Harley now. So
Yeah,
like,
yeah. See, now that scares the shit out of me. But here's what I'll say. It's
yeah,
a great reference point. There's a one of the great spiritual teachers of creating mindset abundance, Bob Proctor, who passed away last
amazing guy.
year.
Yeah,
I'm a little
yeah,
bit of time. He talks about in his work what's called the terror barrier, which is all fear based, and getting through that barrier. But the most underlying part of his thinking into results program is what he calls constant space repetition, which is right in line with doing the things that we know we need to do over and over, as long
right.
as they're doing the right things and getting past it. On a deeper level, I mean, fear is something that can be ingrained to us in our unconscious, usually from a very, very early age. It's in the ongoing study of human behavior that, if we have any kind of traumas or, things that affect our self-worth or doubts or, create limiting beliefs, they can be ingrained in us. That requires some deep rooted, personal or spiritual development, some really big work on looking at self, and it can come up and creep up at any time. I mean, I had just a day yesterday, a day that was just beyond. And when I step back and reflect on it, and some of the things, the feelings that I was having, the choices that I was making, the reaction versus response that I know that I need to do, which is be responsible. When I examine that, I look at where was most of that created? Fear, right? And so it's a reminder that I've got to continue to go deeper into the self to understand what's showing up in front of me.
Would you say that the counterbalance to negativity could be gratitude?
Hmm. Hmm. But gratitude's an action word.
Yeah, I think, I guess the way I describe that or the way I look at that is now I got a few things there, right? I mean, one is, 3 steps to managing stress. And this is something I always suggest that, many people do, and I still do this to this day for myself, and I've got times where I'll say it out loud for myself, and I'll actually find myself laughing at myself out loud, and it's kind of a funny moment because 'cause you're sitting there stressing in one moment, but in step 1, you analyze the situation. In step 2, you define your role. And in step 3, you determine what the potential outcomes could be.
Hmm.
And by truly analyzing what's going on and figuring out what role you play in the whole thing, that's going to help you figure out what the action step should be. And you might just realize that either A, you've got 3 different options you could take right now, or B, you've done everything you need to do. You're stressing for absolutely no reason.
Hmm.
So that's, in one
Hmm.
sense of the negativity, that's something that I work on, and that's something that I share with others to do. And I want everybody to tune in, to really try that. Much the same, like I said a moment ago, at the end of it all, like no matter what happens, the bookend to my day is gratitude journal. And
Hmm.
so when we think of negativity and we think of the negative mindset and we think about the thoughts and we think about maybe, not feeling our best in a day, right? Because we all have it. Every single one of us has it,
Yep.
right? Um, being able to kind of mark it down, but not mark down the negative, mark down the positive, and then, kind of have that as the sort of final thought on the night. I find that again as a bookend, it kind of says, "Hey, dude, you got up this morning, you checked out your purpose, goals, you went through your day as with this sort of process because again we're very scheduled, right? And at the end of the day, yes, whatever happened in between it all, it is what it is. But hey, let's make sure we recognize all the good we definitely have around us.
Hmm.
And on a personal level, I would say that I feel that again, does it solve the negativity? Maybe not. But does it help you reframe for the positive? In my case, it certainly does.
Well, and I think you can look at some of the great speakers on this that really dive into gratitude. Tony Robbins would be one of them.
Yep.
That you cannot possibly be experiencing the emotion, and emotions can be a choice, of anger, sadness, guilt, all of that, when we are really feeling the emotion of gratitude. And so I think that, what that reminds me of is that, and we've talked about this before, and it's very mainstream, the law of attraction, right? The law of attraction says that
Yep.
we, can literally visualize and manifest what it is that we desire by, holding ourselves accountable to doing it in a way that is, a positive, but also a negative if we're not careful. And so the law of attraction says that we don't get what we want, we get what we are. We attract what we actually are. But the mainstream talks about this law so much. Very seldom do we hear that, the law of attraction is actually a secondary law, where the law of vibration, which means that, like energy attracts like energy, we put out energy and it acts like a magnet, is actually the primary law. And so when you look at what's going on negatively, when you look at, what's happening, and when you look at, what you really desire, can you identify ways that you can raise your own personal vibration, aka, even as simpler terms, your own energy level? So if I feel good by practicing gratitude, I'm going to have less negative coming at me. If I feel good by, getting into some of these rituals, am I going to attract a little bit more of that which I desire? Versus just focusing on what we don't have and just wanting it and expecting, because we focus and focus and focus on it, that it's going to come, because oftentimes that can create some scarcity too, which we all know.
What do you say to those people who just roll their eyes at you and or at both of us around all of this stuff and sort of called it the woo woo or whatever else funny words they use for this stuff, hocus pocus, you name it. What do you say to those people?
I say good for you. I mean,
Okay.
good for you for, being on your own personal journey. And I really hope that that is working out very well. I know lots of people that, are highly successful human beings, very highly successful. They make way more money. They have, way higher stats. They have this, that, and the other. But ultimately, success doesn't equal fulfillment. Success doesn't equal fulfillment. In fact, it's more of a toxic replacement for fulfillment. And so when we examine, what other people say, I think that, it's really none of my business. If somebody's got, what's working for them, and it is working really well, and they feel good to the depth of their core when they're standing, on their own or in their car or by themselves, and they feel good, super. Like whatever's working, make it
Hmm.
work.
Yep.
In my own experience, I've had great levels of what would be called perceived success. I transacted over a couple hundred deals in my first 2.5 years. Uh, had one of the largest, if not the largest, real estate teams in my city by 5 years in the business. And one of the largest, most successful independent brokerages, in southwestern Ontario in a 2 or 3 year time span. I woke up on day one of the following year of each of those successes and I wasn't fulfilled. And then I realized, oh boy, I'm in trouble and I've got to get really, really clear on what that actually looks like. And I watch people all the time that, come into maybe a little bit different type of coaching that are having success, but they're not fulfilled, or they're having some challenges in other areas and they're letting things slide. And by all means, we all have challenges, and I've got a pile right now in my own precarious journey that we call life. Big ones too, big
Don't we all
ones.
though? Don't we all?
Um, but I know the work that works for me in order to navigate through them. And is life going to be easy at all times? No. Sometimes I wish that it was. Yesterday it was a day that I wished was a little bit easier. But it makes me go back to that toolbox of this kind of kumbaya woo stuff. And, if I can be a little bit better today than I was yesterday, then I'm okay with that path.
It's the toolbox of the kumbaya. I think that's probably, in other words, what I said to you prior to going on air about the gratitude and falling off for about 8 weeks or so, and recognizing that I kind of had like one wheel on the track, but one was off, and I
Hmm.
could kind of see it, or maybe the track was a little bit bumpier, and it's like, well, what are those little things that I need to do? I know what works for me. And I think that that's a big thing for everybody as well, is that, some of the stuff that I'm sharing, that Ryan's sharing today, we're both sharing, we're different opinions, different ideas. It's not that everybody's going to fit everything. It is about finding, again, your purpose and what that line is for you. Right. I mean, I think you and I have been spending a bunch of time today talking about even things that for both of us work, right? Is there something maybe that you do that maybe something one specific thing or something that helps you really keep your mind sharp in a day?
Sure. So a lot of people talk about time blocking and routine, right?
Yeah.
And you know what? Some of the most highly effective, successful, fulfilled people go by routine. I go more by what I call rituals. I'm
Okay.
ritualistic in
Cool.
nature. Hydration, meditation, some form of exercise, journaling, gratitude. They'd be five good ones right there. If I can do those five things at any point during the day, I know that my day is going to unfold in a
Say
pretty
them
good way.
again. Say them again.
Hydration, meditation, journaling, some form of physical activity, and really focusing in on, gratitude,
Yeah.
positive mindset, whatever that might be. Those are five rituals that take me less than 2 hours if I do them. Do I do them every day? No. Could I be doing them a little bit better right now? For sure. Is that one of my key areas of focus right now? Absolutely. Because I know when I do those specific rituals that are in my toolbox, it allows me to stay more aware to my surroundings, what other things happen, navigating tougher situations. And it's a matter of, we all go backwards at times, but can we get back on track and keep moving forwards?
It's interesting you bring those things up because as you were doing those, that's what I was like, repeat. I was like, yep, check, check, check. Like, and it's amazing because as I told you, and I've told many people now, like I'm on a serious mission, with the gym and working out and just getting myself there, right? Because again, there's
Hmm.
that physical, which impacts the mental. Um, it's been a good, month and a half, 2 months right now, and by no means am I where I'm going, but I'm very, very pleased with the progress I've made so far. And, what's interesting about the 5 things you mentioned, none of them talked about money, none of them talked about prospecting, none of them talked about business. These were all internal, things that get you to feel better about you and feel like you're, again, at your sort of like peak levels of performance. And I think that it incorporates both the physical and the mental, which at the end
Hmm.
of the day makes you a hell of a lot stronger to face, like you just said, any situation that's out there, right?
Well, and it allows us to go out and create, right? Whether it's creating a company, whether it's prospecting for new business, whether it's building up our confidence. What it does is it increases our capacity, right? And as we increase our capacity, we allow ourselves to have more of that good stuff come in. Sometimes stuff happens where our capacity shrinks, right? So
Yeah.
we need to look at how do I unload some things that will allow me to increase further and increase it to a level that I really start allowing that good stuff with all areas that I want to create more in.
Is giving back a part of that?
Oh, totally, man. Totally.
Like, what about the people that are like, "Oh, I don't have time for that though. Like, I'm so busy. Like, I can't even focus on me. How am I gonna focus on others?"
Then I say, take some responsibility for what you're doing with your time, and the choices that you make inside your time. Because you know what? You can give back in so many ways. I mean, if you're ever unfortunate enough to have, real challenges with things like addiction or stuff that, I certainly have, one of the biggest roads to recovery is going out and helping people. That's what they'll do. Don't help yourself, help somebody. Immediately, because in effect it's actually helping people. Now on the flip side of that, on an airplane you're supposed to give yourself the mask first. So what I look at though is I know a lot of people that are much busier than I am. They have busier schedules, but it's a common question, how do you do it all? I've got 100 plus agents in my company. I still transact real estate at a very high level with a small team. I've got three boys that I coach their sports, giving back to that community, whether it's through sponsorships, whether it's through, coaching 3 to 5 every day. I don't miss any other stuff. We go on trips, we do all the things that we like to do. We have ups and downs, just like every other family does, sometimes worse than others, especially with teenagers, as I mentioned. You've got all the time to do the things that you want to do if you get your priorities right and your mind right and your heart right and your activities right, your choices.
Um, doing all the right things that are right for you, and I say the you, not just you, Ryan, but you, any of us, helping others, taking care of self. I'm gonna put personal development right up into there, and I think that, anybody tuned into this, whether you're watching the live show right now or you're listening on, one of the major podcast platforms, and I thank you. I would say that this is also personal development. This is feeding your brain. And I think for me, again, one of those big things, like, right there with water and hydration and gratitude is very much the personal development, right? So there's the physical
Hmm.
side of things of working out. There's the mental side of things of feeding the brain. And again, do they, come back to my bank account is growing? I mean, at the end of the day, I'm sharper, so I'm stronger when it comes to, being myself, whether it's for my hockey or baseball team, or it's for my clients, or it's for my business, my staff, my team, you know. Therefore, it really does translate to that. But all of that is really me taking care of me, not me taking care of me because I want to make more.
Totally.
Right. And I think that when people really focus in on that, that's where they can find, their ultimate success.
Hmm.
Um, how do you know at the end of the day it's been a successful day for you?
Oh, usually, those rituals are pretty critical to that. And have I supported people at the best of my ability? Some days where you get the phone call or the hey, got a minute, from people, especially when you own a company, or got a minute, when you've got coaching clients, got a minute, for this, and it's never a minute.
Yeah, never.
But my partner Sandra, a partner in business and life, our whole motto is, like, how do we wake up each and every day and help as many people as we can inside of our company and beyond? Because realistically, you go back to that dynamic of money. Money's nice. There's no doubt about it. Money, and when you have the right relationship with money, it's a currency and a flow, and it allows you to extend your message, extend your purpose, extend, that support in the way that you really want to, for whatever your purpose might be. And it can take some time to figure that one out. But I know that if I've served myself, it allows me to serve others at a high level. And if I serve others at a high level, all the rest just falls into place, man. That is it. That is all.
So although the word money came up, the answer had nothing to do with making money.
It doesn't.
And in asking this question almost 200 times on this show, you know, I'd say the best of the best, the people that are hitting those levels of success. Nobody talks about money.
Mm,
It's not what defines success. So it's, and I certainly did not expect you to say money by any means. But again, just a way to reinforce that to everybody is that, don't gauge yourself based on views or likes or, clicks or money. Gauge yourself based on what you're doing for you. Gauge yourself on what you're doing for your family. Gauge yourself on what you're doing for the people around you, and do that. And that is where true success comes from. I mean, again, as we talked about with all these, as you call them, rituals in a day, these are the type of things that make you feel more complete, more complete, more successful.
hmm
And I
hmm
would double down on saying very much the same thing. That's really what it comes down to. Love money, but success is so much bigger than, the dollars and the cents.
Fulfillment, right? Fulfillment.
Yeah, absolutely,
Hmm.
man. Yeah, no, listen, I don't make a penny to coach these kids at hockey or baseball. And yes, I
No,
love my hockey, my baseball, and yes, my son is part of it. But there is a really amazing, amazing feeling when you can go and you can help a group of kids grow, help a group of people grow, have the families come and say, hey, like he's loving it or he's doing great, like he or she,
mm,
whatever, right? Like that's the type of stuff that's really awesome, you
for
know.
sure,
So
for sure.
anyhow, right, some final words for everybody tuned in, just to help themselves get out there, build more mind share again, raise those productivity levels, create a more powerful mindset. Anything you just want to leave behind with people just before we wrap up?
Yeah, I think that, number one, really focus on that foundation. Really pay attention and open up the realm of possibility when you look at your foundation. Be a witness to that, not a judge of yourself. Be a witness to what's going on, not a judge, and just commit. Goals are nice in theory. Commitment means we're executing and implementing.
Love that, buddy. Um, hey, man, where can people find you if they want to reach out, connect, and just learn more from you?
Sure, you can find me at anywhere on Facebook. Ryan Hodge Coaching and Consulting, the realty firm brokerage. The book is The Integrity Vow, which is still going on Amazon. You can order off my website or even on Audible as a version as well. If you like that personal or what I call spiritual development stuff, the woo woo. There's some good tools and lots in there about universal laws and things like that may support you as well. So www.theintegrityvow.com.
And let me give that sort of my back-end as well on that. I know I did read that a number of years ago, and I would recommend that everybody take a venture through it. There's a lot of great learning in there. There's obviously a good life story. I think everybody can find some way to parallel that to their own personal lives, whatever it be, if it's a direct comparison or it's something that, just sort of like, again, parallel it. But yeah, check it out. The Integrity Vow. Definitely get a copy of that, everybody, and connect with Ryan. Follow him on Facebook and reach out, learn about what he's up to. Just an amazing, amazing dude, Ryan. You're my boy. Love the mindset, and I can't thank you enough for making the time for us on the Mindshare podcast today.
I appreciate you, brother. Keep inspiring, man. We'll connect soon. Thanks, everybody.
You bet, bro. You are either listening to this on iTunes, iHeartRadio. Maybe you're watching the live broadcast over here. Maybe you're on Stitcher, you're on Spotify. Maybe you went to my website, mindshare101.com. I also want to remind you that while you're on the website, make sure you download your free marketing bundle. This is the ultimate marketing bundle, 31-page ebook. It's got a 90-day social media content calendar in there. It's all in place to help you build more mindshare so that you get more market share. So check that one out. If you do want to talk about personalized one-to-one coaching, an in-person keynote talk for your next upcoming event, potentially a virtual training series, please get in touch with my team. One of our Mindshare Experience coordinators will set up a time to connect with you, do a quick consultation, learn more about what you're looking to achieve and how we will help you do just that. Also, please don't forget that our push to 100 is on. All you have to do is go to ratethispodcast.com. /Mindshare 101. It's super, super easy. Go on over there. You can leave us a nice little review, give us a big 5 stars. We would be super, super grateful if you did that. And of course, if you haven't yet, let's connect on Instagram at David Greenspan 101, as well as on Facebook at Mindshare 101, or you can just type in David Greenspan, your real estate industry coach. I want to take a quick moment here to thank Virginia Munden and the Buzz Conference for sponsoring today's episode. Be sure to visit their website, www.thebuzzconference.com. Follow them on Instagram at The Buzz Conference. Keep tabs on all of the amazing events that they are always hosting, along with getting the latest copy of the Buzz digital magazine. And remember, get your tickets for Disruption. Disruption is taking place on March 30th in Toronto. So again, go over to www.thebuzzconference.com. We are proud to have the Buzz Conference as an ongoing sponsor of the Mindshare podcast. Of course, I want to thank Kits Keep in Touch Systems as well for sponsoring today's episode. Remember, Wow Calendar early bird ordering is open. Don't miss the opportunity to take advantage of some amazing savings. If you haven't checked it out yet, just go on over to my site, mindshare101.com, click on marketing up at the top right, learn more about it. And of course, if you want to connect with the team, find out anything more about the Kits system and how amazing it is, definitely connect with my Kits team. And they will do a demo for you, walk through everything. But all in all, this has been another episode of the Mindshare podcast. Thank you for tuning in. We're good to go, brother.
Good, man. How was that, bro?
That was wicked, dude. I appreciate that, man. Love the conversation with you, man. I'm telling you, it's funny. I was sitting there like, as you talked about proactive and reactive, you talked about order take. I'm like, man, I am going off about those things. I mean, they're just a staple into like a lot of the stuff that we've been doing for a little while now. It's funny. I just did the Buzz Spotlight with Virginia the other day and talking about exactly that, like being a hunter versus an order taker.
Yeah.
And that was the whole thing about like getting new leads and then, going out and like following up with people. So yeah, man, just such a similar mindset. And I'll tell you, brother, I've learned a lot from you over the years. So I thank you. Very grateful.
You're reminding me that I got to get my ass in gear with the gym, man.
Dude, it's funny. That's why I put the posts up. I've had some people messaging me.
It
like,
works, man.
Why do you keep doing that? I'm like,
works.
fuck, I'm motivating myself, but I'm motivating you as well, right?
Yeah.
And I'll tell you where that came from was not only the mental and like the personal of like, I got to do this, but I got a buddy of mine who was 282 pounds.
Yeah.
And, he wasn't that, he was always a big boy, probably lower motivation, if anything. But then he married this girl who is just like really, really, really big. And it's almost like every time you see her, you think she just got like way bigger. And I'm talking like massive.
Mm,
And again, nice girl. I don't mean it in haste by any means,
yeah.
but I also don't think that it was the best thing for him because I think that it just kind of played to that. And he, you know what I mean? So he got to this point at 282 pounds. That was a few years ago. He sits today, the last time we spoke, just I don't know, a few days ago or something, at 153 pounds.
Wow.
Ripped, like not
Yeah.
just like skin and bones, but like
Yeah.
defined,
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know what? I've known you my whole life. He's like a little brother. I know that he's never been the most like mindset motivated individual.
Hmm.
Um, and then I know that the physical motivation also had him pretty down and out. So for him to be able to make that change, I'm like, fuck that. I don't
Yeah.
have to do, like, I'm not even trying to do anything close to that.
Yeah.
If he can do it, I can do it, right? And
Yeah.
that's kind of been my motivation. So the funny thing is now that I'm posting all the time, and so he'll comment or like throw me a reaction on my stories, and then once in a while I'll be like, "Dude, you're motivating me," and I'm like, "Brother,
Hmm.
you're my fucking coach on this stuff. You're the one motivating me. Let's
Hmm.
go!" Right?
Yeah.
It's been a good little kick in the ass.
Yeah. I've been in a unique spot. I know that I told you the one time with the whole Rico courses stuff,
Yeah,
that's been ongoing. So that's like
really?
almost 5 years in the making.
Holy shit! So
So a
that's
lot of,
still happening?
yeah, dude, so a lot of stress,
How?
right? Courts were delayed, just the whole dynamic.
Wow!
It's been like we're talking multiple six figures in legal fees and
Jesus
stuff.
Christ!
So it'll be what it'll be. I've detached from that outcome. But the stress, I last earlier in the spring, I started to do the 75 hard.
Oh yeah,
Dude, I was halfway through, and if I do that kind of commitment, like zero booze, zero nothing, I just get shredded quick. Like I didn't drop anything. In fact, I was gaining. So I'm like, oh, there's something going on with my body. So I've just actually in the last month been working with it's kind of like a naturopath, doing some different things with my adrenals and stress and all that. And I'm just starting to see some positive momentum. And because I do like working out, not every
yeah.
day, but I do find it as part of my ritual. I do karate a few times a week. And so you start to get like, is it because I'm, older? No, it's 100% stress. And so it's a great time for me to dive back into this because I do feel better. And then, I do create more of what I want.
I'll tell you, man. The mindset here on this end could be better. The market's obviously taken an impact over the past number of months, and so that's
Hmm.
that just there's vibrations on that to like
Hmm.
ancillary businesses, let's call it. Um, things are good. It's like you want to just always be doing this, right?
Yeah.
So there's definitely that, but I'll tell you on the other side of things, like, and as you said, those rituals, and I wanted to hit home with that and say like you didn't talk about money.
Hmm.
For me, am so locked in on the personal side right now from like the physical and the mental and the reading that I'm like, I feel wicked on that side.
Oh yeah, man.
You know what I
It's
mean?
huge.
And it's
And
like,
watch the money come the way that you want it to.
well, this is the thing, man. And that's
Yeah.
like, I'll tell you, that's part of the frustration I got just because it's like, and this is a total another conversation for another day, but like I had somebody call me up yesterday. And he's like, Dave, and I know him. He's a good dude. He's an EXP guy. He's got a team under him. And he's like, like you're the man. Like I watch you, you do great stuff, this, that, the other. He's like, do you find that like the whole coaching scene is like watered down? I'm like, why do you ask? He's like, well, like there's a lot of like, people just coming out of left field that just got in the business, did like a few deals at a high time, and now all of a sudden they're telling everybody how to be like the best guru.
Hmm.
And they got courses. He's like, and I started just laughing. And I had to agree with him. I'm like, it totally is at this point, right? How many people I
It's
speak to,
brutal right now,
dude,
man.
this guy and two other people I've spoken to recently, when they're like, "Oh yeah, I did this talk for blah blah blah." I'm like, "Oh, how much you charge?" They're
Hmm.
like, "Oh no, I didn't." I'm like, "Why?" Like,
Yeah.
"Oh, well, I'm not really at your level, but I just thought I'd do it." I'm thinking like, "Yo, man, straight up," and I didn't say this to people, but like, you're taking food off of my plate,
Hmm.
right? Because you're just doing shit for free. This is like agents cutting their commission to get the deal, and you sit there looking at them going, "Why would you cut your commission?" Well, it's the same
Yeah.
idea.
So
So
the
I'm seeing
screen,
like,
this sorry to interrupt. The screen says that we're still live.
nah, we're not, we're live in here.
Okay.
It's just you and I. Yeah, yeah, don't worry. It's just you and I made sure to check the Facebook feed. We are not. I do that before I come back on and start talking. I always back check the Facebook feed because
Okay.
that's where we would be live.
Yeah, I
But
was
yeah,
just
no,
like, oh,
yeah,
I could say a few things right now that would get me into like some really hot water. But yeah,
yeah, no, no,
it's
dude,
a lot of bullshit right now, man. It's just crazy.
dude, it's bad, man. Like
Hmm.
I am thoroughly, thoroughly frustrated
Yeah,
over it all. And I would tell you, like, I'm looking at like the lineups for like reality. And you know, I'm looking at the people that are speaking, and forget about like the big, big keynotes, but I'm talking like the folks that like you wonder, like, they're like you sort of compete or whatever. You
hmm,
said they're going like, how's it possible that you get in the keynote? And then I find out that they spent like they're like the title sponsor for reality spent 100 grand,
yeah,
100 grand. And now she's gonna be able to be on stage, and nobody knows how much money she spent. I know it from the horse's mouth,
right.
right? Um, but then they get this play, and it's like, oh, they're the people to deal with.
Hmm.
Then you get these other agents who are selling houses, but decide they want to speak, so they go speak for free, and you sit there going, "The
It's a
fuck,
tough one.
dude."
Then
That's a frustration point for me right now,
you watch a guy like Cheplack is charging 2 grand US for a 30 or 20 or 30 minute call.
right? Like I go,
But
"How?"
the whole message is he's just talking about money, which when I worked with him, it was all like spiritual, personal. So I think you got to step back sometimes and focus in on what it is that you really want. I think the money comes on a number of levels, but I don't know. It's a very very saturated, unique industry right now. I think COVID was harsh on it with the personalities. I see good things happening with the buzz. Is Virginia doing well with that?
Seems to be doing well with it. The events are, she's got her following. I think her following is probably it's an interesting dynamic. Like you've got a
Okay.
lot of like almost your staples that you would think would be
Yeah.
there that are not going.
Okay.
There's definitely the newer demographic that has definitely taken to it, from some of what she's done, and she's definitely trying to tap into that younger generation of realtor.
Yeah, I see
Um,
like Andrew Perry and the Kate Broddocks and a lot of these
yeah,
these
these
guys that are,
new
yeah.
like where did they come from kind of faces, and you're like, I don't know how successful a lot of these people are in real estate, but I know that they've
Hmm.
made a following for themselves on
On
social
social
media,
and that, yeah.
and you're going, is it legit? Like, I mean, Andrew, for a fact, and I know I've heard this one from the horse mouth as well. He's paid for followers like crazy, right? So that whole
Mhm.
following and he's an okay dude. I don't have problems with him. But there's a lot of pomp and circumstance out there from like a lot of different people. And I think that again, based on the world we live in, man, that's how people look at things these days. It's a very different dynamic.
Yeah, I've kind of just got my nose to the grindstone, cranking out some real estate, building the
Yeah,
company. I will look to do. I think that you're probably the first podcast I've done in ages, man.
really.
Like
I
just, yeah. I mean, I look to associate with those that I enjoy. You know what I mean? Like
appreciate you.
so much of it's just positioning and all the rest, and I just don't have the energy for it right now.
That's where I'm at, dude. I'm looking at all
Hmm.
this stuff, reality. They've got all these ambassadors, and I'm looking at them and like we know most of them. And I'm like, how the fuck they become ambassadors? And I'm like,
Yeah,
dude, you don't even want to be ambassador. Who cares? I'm like, I know.
yeah,
And I'm having these conversations in my head, but going, I don't have the energy to try to be part of all this stuff all the
no,
time. I'm focused, man.
hmm,
You know what I
hmm,
mean? I
totally.
also wonder too, though, it's like sometimes you feel like you are missing the boat and you try to figure out, and I mean, this is me going deeper with you. I should probably sort of like retain some of your time at some point and just pick your brain a little bit. But it's you're trying to look and do some of that internal realization too and go, okay, cool. What am I not seeing? Right?
Hmm.
What is the industry seeing? What am I not seeing? You
Yeah.
know, there's a lot of good happening, but there's a lot of other stuff too that you sit back out there and you go like, what could we do to adjust?
Hmm.
Right?
Or the integrity of it, do I really want to be a part of?
Well, that's the
If
other
it's
thing,
not
man.
there, man,
That's the
that's
other thing, buddy.
some of it is just not there. I gotta fly though, brother. I would
Okay, give me
love to
give me
reconnect
15
at some
seconds of
point.
your time. Can I
Yep.
can, I'm gonna stop talking. I'm gonna put myself on mute. If you can, please look into the camera, tell us who you are. You were just on the Mindshare podcast. Maybe highlight like a couple things we talked about and just encourage people to tune in. Does that work?
Hmm. Yep.
Okay, cool. So I'm gonna stop my mic right now and
Hey, it's Ryan Hodge, broker of record, owner at the realty firm, and author of the Integrity Vow. And I have had a amazing experience with David Greenspan at the Mindshare podcast. And guess what? We go deep dive into personal development and what may be a real lever that you are missing in your own real estate productivity. So check out this episode.
You're a pro.
Here you go, brother.
You're the man, brother. Please, whatever I can do to help you, let me know, and let's definitely connect off air
We
sooner
will.
than later. Okay.
Yeah, man. I'll make a note of it. I'm just gonna go freeze my nuts off in a football tundra right
I'm
now.
grateful
So
for you, brother. Seriously, thank you, man.
you too.
Okay, buddy.